Okay, if you're in perimenopause and your mood is changing for the worst, don't think that you can think your way out of it or talk your way out of it, because even health professionals in that field can't do it.
Introducing the Perimena Bliss Podcast, a show dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of achieving optimal health naturally as you transition into perimenopause and menopause. Get ready to join your host, Dr. Seth Yates, an experienced naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and kinesiologist, as he shares his wealth of knowledge acquired from over 40,000 patient visits and 15 years in working with perimenopausal females. Welcome to the Perimena Bliss Podcast.
Hey, I'm Doc Yates. Welcome to Perimenopause Bliss, brought to you by perimenobliss.com, ablehealth.us. And today I want to talk about just how critical a role hormones play in your mood and in your emotional well-being during the time of perimenopause and menopause. When these hormones, which are in such trace amounts in your body, when they change, you can't fight it. You can't overpower that. They are too strong. I have had clients that are trained health professionals, trained counselors, therapists, health coaches, lifestyle coaches that have come in and they're like, something is happening and, I can't think my way through it. I can't process it. My techniques that I normally use to kind of help with getting through stressful situations and changes are not working. And when we go through it, we're either finding there's a correlation with their cycle, or there's a correlate like in terms of time of the month. So it's not just PMS, it's extended. It's often like the whole second half of the cycle. So literally it means like half of their life at that time they're feeling off. It's because of their hormones. Getting this part of it addressed is key. And sometimes there's different patterns you'll see. Sometimes people don't recognize it, and sometimes they'll notice like, oh, I got my period, now I'm better. Or my period's over, now I'm better. One of those two things will start, that'll be a kind of a cue that someone will notice that will bring them in. So if you are noticing any type of symptoms, and especially these are not things that you typically dealt with before, and we're going to go through some of these symptoms that I've seen these health professionals complain of and notice and observe, because that is the credit I will definitely give them, is that they were able to notice that there was some patterns to this, and it was enough to bring them into the office so that we could correct it. And then we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do, or that we use to correct these symptoms. So let's dive into it. Number one, anxiety. Anxiety that is worse typically in the second half of your cycle, or sometimes it gets confusing when you're dealing with hormone cases when someone doesn't have a cycle, maybe because they have an IUD, maybe because they had an ablation, maybe because they had a partial hysterectomy, but there's these underlying hormone changes, and you start feeling more anxious when you weren't before. That is key, because generally what would happen from a treatment standpoint is if you go to your doctor, they're going to give you medications for anxiety, but that's not the issue. The issue is that your hormones have changed, and that is what's causing the anxiety. Same thing for heart palpitations. Heart palpitations that come on, especially generally with feelings of anxiety. Now, would I say, oh, don't worry about anything about your heart, don't get it checked out? Of course, get your heart checked out. They'll put like a monitor on you. If anything comes up with that, they'll put you through a stress test. But most of the time, that all comes back clear. That comes back clear, especially in the perimenopause phase. And then they're like, well, your heart's fine, so therefore it's anxiety. So then, boom, we're going back to the antidepressant, anti-anxiety route. Not getting to the root cause. Heart palpitations that are occurring, changing throughout your cycle, especially if they're accompanied with anxiety during this time, hormones. Get the hormones addressed. Number three, and we've talked about this one many times before, but just for new listeners, irritability. It's not uncommon for people to have some irritability with PMS, which is, a couple days leading up to your cycle. But what will happen in perimenopause in perimenopause is that it gets worse And it's not just a couple days at this point. It becomes 4, 5, 6, 10 days out. So people are literally will be sitting there and they're like, you've got to help me because I feel like I'm about to like tear someone's head off. And that is not me. I'm generally a very easygoing person. It's like a Dr. Jekyll and like Mr. Hyde type of syndrome occurring. That type of irritability, hormone balance works great. Now I would say this, if we're diving right into treatments right off the bat for each point, get the hormone balance, get your progesterone balanced. The herbal formula that we use to help for that, which contains things like peony and bupleurum, that speeds things up dramatically. And then there's some basic acupuncture points, and we even teach people how to stick these little band-aids. We call them press tacks or sticker needles. It's like a little sticker with a tiny little acupuncture needle. We teach people how to stick them on, and the acupuncture and the herbal formula speeds up getting rid of that irritability dramatically. So if you're struggling with that, start the process of getting your hormones and progesterone balanced. In the meantime, while you're waiting for that to kick in, consider the herbal formulas and the acupuncture. It's amazing, and people literally like, wow, you literally saved my relationship, because that's to the point it was getting to. Number 4, another sign that hormones are stronger than your willpower for this is cravings. You know, people initially would say, yeah, I used to get some chocolate cravings or some sugar cravings, but they keep getting worse. And they get so bad that people, like, they can't just ignore them. It's almost like it's overpowering them. And for a clinic, we do a lot of work with diet plans and weight loss. It's so much easier. It's so much easier for people to lose weight when you balance their hormones, because these cravings just dissipate. So make sure if you have cravings in perimenopause and they're getting way worse, instead of just trying to fight it and, putting like a lock on the fridge, get your hormones balanced. And the 5th thing, muscle pain. It's not uncommon that I've been seeing, especially more and more lately, but a muscle pain that's flaring up more so during the second half of their cycle. So when they're getting this anxiety, they're getting all of this muscle pain that's occurring, a lot of it into their low backs and legs, and some people would say it would almost feel like a period pain that they were getting, but the type that's not just in your lower abdomen, the type that for people that extends into their back and down their thighs, except in this case, it's not just during that phase of their cycle, it's lasting for like a full week or more. That is something when you see all this muscle tension, and the regular things aren't working. So natural anti-inflammatories aren't cutting it. Taking magnesium, not cutting it. Stretching things out doesn't seem to do anything. Get the hormone balanced and you'll see that pain improve. And lastly, as we've talked about many times before, a classic sign is the sleep disturbances. And this is what you'll see in perimenopause. Like in menopause, you see it all the time. Like almost every night can be like a sleep disturbance. In perimenopause, it will be like, oh, it's a couple of nights before my period. Now it's a week before my period. Now it's my entire second half of my cycle. Now my cycle's getting shorter, so now it's 2/3 of my cycle that my sleep sucks. Hormone balance, progesterone balance. You can use some additional things, like we just talked about magnesium. Definitely put it in. Magnesium is great for making it so when you are sleeping, your sleep is more relaxed, more restful. But getting the hormone balance is what's going to stop you from waking up and getting stuck awake. Now, we've done many podcasts before on the Perimental Bliss about sleep. So make sure you can refer back, check through the list. If you're struggling with sleep, we've got a lot of solutions for that. But the point of today is that if you're struggling with these things, especially from the mental, emotional part of it, don't feel that you have to like struggle through it, or if the techniques that you're normally used to kind of calm yourself down are not working, because even for the pros, they're not working. So don't try and just suffer through it. Get things balanced, get things corrected, and you can start feeling better right away. So I hope this was helpful. This is Doc Yates, and I'm signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paramena Bliss podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit paramenobliss.com for more valuable information on how you can thrive during your transition through perimenopause. Join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to achieving optimal health naturally, and stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and advice from Dr. Seth Yates. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paramena Bliss podcast.